this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Oh, this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Class is in session. Please be seated. Behaviors that get attention get repeated. Avoid the power struggle cause it will get you heated. Listen to Amanda cause she knows how to teach it. Yo, this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Oh, this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Yeah, yeah,
Hello and welcome to the Parenting with a Punch show. I am your host, Amanda Houle. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a wonderful guest today, Crystal with Crazy Pieces. Crazy Pieces has been winning the hearts of viewers since 2015. They live by the phrase, life goes by so fast, don't blink, just film, which kicked off their family vlogging adventures. Parents Aaron and Crystal have 3 biological children and have opened their home to 7 more children through adoption, making them a 12-person family unit. So exciting. So glad to have her here. Let's give her a warm welcome. Hello, Crystal.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you on the show today and talk about your crazy adventures. God bless you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited too.
So yes, please tell us. So Crazy Pieces is a YouTube basically venture, correct?
Correct, yes.
Awesome. So tell us about it.
So we basically vlog our everyday adventures. So we, kind of like you said, we have 3 biological children. But kind of how we got started is we first had 2 biological children and we were wanting to have our 3rd. And we tried and tried. We actually ended up going through fertility treatments and got pregnant, was so excited, and ended up having a miscarriage. And it was really tough. It was a really hard time. And my husband actually came to me at that point and said, why don't we look into foster care and adoption? And I was immediately on board. I was like, yes, let's do this. So we started all the classes and, started our foster care adoption journey and ended up getting pregnant in the middle of it. But we just felt led to it at that point. I know that's how it works out, right?
Yes, usually.
So we ended up still doing foster care and adoption and ended up finding 7 amazing, wonderful children that helped complete our family. And that's just kind of how we got going. And then a lot of our kids coming from the foster care system didn't have a lot of, or don't have any pictures from their past, any baby pictures. Even some of them don't have memories. So we wanted to start vlogging and documenting every memory and every special moment.
When did you decide to start vlogging? Was it at like a certain point in your journey or like a certain age that because you have all ages. What are the ages of the kids?
So our oldest is actually 25 and our youngest is 3. Yeah. And then we basically have every age in between.
Yes. Okay, very cool. Now, where are you guys located?
We are located in Arizona, and we decided to start kind of filming towards the end of our foster care journey. A lot of times with foster care, you can't put them on social media or they have really sensitive story backgrounds. Right. So kind of once we were past all of that and like we were doing our last adoptions, we started vlogging.
Awesome. How many years have you been doing it now?
I mean, we've been on YouTube for 4 years, but we've been like really vlogging like our everyday life for about 1.5 years.
Oh, that's incredible. Incredible. So what was did you and your husband kind of like have a discussion on how many children you wanted to foster or?
I mean, it's kind of funny actually, because my husband originally only said he wanted 2 kids and I wanted 4. So we were kind of like, oh, maybe we'll have 3, maybe we will have 4. We're kind of going back and forth. Right. And then I guess ultimately we got 10, but I love how that worked out because I feel like it was kind of just meant to be. And I felt like these kids just kept falling into place and it kind of just kept I don't know. And my husband feels the same way. He's like, I never imagined us having 10 kids,
Right.
but the way that everything fell into place and kind of just worked out, I felt good about that. So.
Oh, that's really beautiful. It really is. So how do you navigate, having that many children and vlogging and sort of like being online and especially with all the different ages? Because I know that that's a challenge.
It definitely can be a challenge. My kids absolutely love it. And it's really interesting to be able to see they go back and watch old videos and they're really invested in our story too, if that makes sense. It's harder sometimes with like the littler kids or like in bad moods or you know what I mean, different kids go through different things.
Of
There's
course.
definitely a time where I put the camera down and we don't vlog certain things, but for the most part, if I don't vlog for a couple days, my kids are like, Mom, I got an A on my report card. Are you going to vlog that? Like they're all excited to share that and remember all of those memories.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, I think especially, of course, children today are growing up with social media being such a huge part of our lives that it's almost probably like abnormal to not sort of, be so heavily involved because, when we were growing up, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, it's such a different time for sure. And getting used to social media. I mean, there are times when we have to protect our children when it comes to social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as far as on my YouTube channel, like if there is any negative comments as far as about the kids or anything, I do delete them because I don't want the kids to go back and see those kind of things. But they all do have Instagrams and all of that, and they're very involved in that, and they love it. It really helps them to be able to reach out to people who are having a hard time or going through things. They reach out to my kids, they reach out to me, and I love the impact that we're able to make through our social media.
Yeah, no, I think that's really an important thing because, like you said, we're on it so much. And for the kids to be able to speak with other children, I've always been super conscious of that. Sometimes when I see followers come on and I'm like, wow, that's like a young, child. And it's just interesting to see sort of like that dynamic behind the camera and just, who's out there and you just never know who's watching. So how did you sort of like filter out, with their social media accounts and kind of like, how do you monitor that?
I mean, I do, my kids that have cell phones, my older kids, they turn in all of their social devices every single night. And I do go through them. I don't think that at the ages that they are, that it should be private or it should be, not on my monitor. The other thing, I have a device called Circle.
Yep.
And it monitors basically everything as far as what apps I allow them to have, which ones they don't. And I'm able to track their location, all of those great things. But I definitely just keep an eye out. And the other thing I do with my kids is I have a very open communication with them. I tell them, there's going to be people that message you. There's going to be people that may send something inappropriate, all of those things. And as long as my kids have an open communication with me, they can come and talk about those things. And then we can work through them, or we can, I can kind of explain, why someone may bully or send something not appropriate, all of those things. I just keep my communication really open with my kids. And I feel like through that open communication that I can help keep them safe and explain anything. A lot of times, people will bully if they've had a hard past or going through something hard. And I think if my kids understand that, they definitely feel better about situations.
Oh, seriously, thank you so much for saying that. And I mean, a few things, but first, I mean, having that open communication with your children, especially because they're so much online is so, so important. And you nailed it. The fact that, those that bully others are clearly going through something and they don't really know how to communicate their hurt. So they do it by lashing out to others. And I think when we show up with more kindness and compassion and love, that's where we can really make those shifts and help those that they're kind of in those spaces of negativity and trying to hurt others.
It's so true. And what's something really interesting about that is we had someone write some mean comments and message one of my kids. And we wrote them back like, hey, what's going on? Why do you feel this way? And immediately it turned to, you know what, I'm sorry I wrote that. I've been going through a really hard time. And basically they just didn't know how to communicate that and now they've become one of our biggest supporters, one of our biggest viewers. And we're really good friends with them at this point. And it's like, it started from a negative comment, but ultimately they were just hurting and they needed someone to listen.
No, I think that's beautiful. And the fact too, when you mentioned about deleting the negative comments, I also, I've gone through it, and especially, being, having that social presence. And when somebody writes something, like for me, I'm of course all about the positivity, especially when it comes to parenting and being as mindful as we can and intentional and showing up. But having those negative, it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve the individual, because when we're talking about, being able to communicate to somebody, something that may be going on, or that where you're hurting, if you can't communicate from like a loving place, then there's no point in having that negative energy out there. And to have those comments, it just fuels more negativity. So the fact that you delete that, I'm the same way. Like I don't think it's necessary or appropriate to leave any sort of negative commentary out there at all. I don't think it's necessary.
I totally 100% agree. And I feel like it just brings, my kids down, or me, and it just, I'm all about positivity and positive energy. And so that's what I want to promote on our channel.
No, absolutely. Again, that is so huge. So with the YouTube channel now, do you sort of talk about having that open communication with the kids and kind of how you navigate the social media with your children, with your audience?
We do. I mean, we're definitely very open on our channel, and we talk a lot about communication a lot on our channel. And we show it. We don't just talk about it. I show how open I am with my kids. I show conversations, or for me, one of my biggest things is our goodbyes and hellos. Even if they're going to school or, wherever they're going, is a big deal to us, because you just never know. Life is so short. And so I show that a lot on our channel, of how just open we are with our kids and how much we communicate.
Awesome. The fact that I think it's the more I'm seeing of the vlogging and families sort of sharing their stories, through social media, and especially with yourself, having children of all ages, having them sort of be a big part of it, I think is just so important for our children today. Because as a society, I just feel that there's so much chaos going on, and just being able to be that light, and again, positivity is just so huge.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I truly, with the communication and just, I love it. I love it all. The hello and the goodbyes. You hit that right on the nail too. I mean, we just never know when our last, chance are to maybe see that person again. And I think we underestimate the fact of life being so short, and just really being able to be present and take in the moments.
Yeah, it's definitely something we try to do a lot, is take in each little moment, because you just don't know. And I know a lot of kids even the kids we've adopted from foster care, a lot of them got split from siblings, or got split from, family that they were close with. And so I think that I've been really trying to teach my kids to just cherish every moment that they have.
Yeah. And something else that you said too, which is what I really try and foster with families that I work with as well, is have you taking their phones at the end of the night and just being in charge of that, I think is so huge, because setting those boundaries really just teaches the children to not have to have that healthy balance with social media and with technology in general.
Yes. And I think it kind of makes them responsible too, because, well, we have several cell phone rules and social media rules, but turning them in at the end of the night. The other one that we have is I don't allow my kids to delete messages, like text messages, DMs they get. I have them keep those. And I was like, if someone sends you something not appropriate, something that, we wouldn't approve of in our house, I would rather them come and say, hey, this so-and-so sent me this, than to delete the message and act like it didn't happen. So that's one thing that we go through at night with their cell phones, and it holds them responsible and it helps foster that communication.
Right. No, I agree. It definitely makes them responsible, especially in just, taking ownership and, teaching them, essentially not to lie and to have that open communication.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. So now with Crazy Pieces, is there a sister-in-law that also has sort of a big family, or?
So yes, my sister actually.
Your sister, okay.
Yeah. So she has a channel called Crazy Middles.
Oh,
so
okay, cool.
The crazies together. And she adopted as well. And her story's really cool too. So hers, she has 22 children. So
wow.
it gets pretty crazy, but her whole goal with foster care were to put sibling sets back together.
Okay.
So, which was amazing. And so she adopted 4 at a time or 3 at a time, like all these sibling sets.
Right.
Which now she got to 22. But it's been cool because we've been able to go through the experience together. And you'll notice on my channel, she's on mine a lot. I'm on hers a lot. We do a lot together as far as cousins, and our kids feel like they can really relate and they're really close.
Cool.
Because they've experienced foster care, they've experienced adoption, and they're experiencing YouTube, on our channels together.
That's awesome. Now, is she local to you, or does she live elsewhere?
She actually lives 2 streets down from me.
Oh, look at that.
We always have to live close to each other.
That's beautiful. So you have that connection and being so close, and especially with the cousins. The kids must absolutely love that.
Oh my gosh, they love it. And they're all best friends. And I love it. And me and my sister are best friends. So the fact that we can all be so close, and our husbands are best friends. So it's just,
That's beautiful.
Really big, happy family. Every day feels like Thanksgiving.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, again, God bless you. I think what you're doing is so important and such a positive message for the world that we live in today, and helping your children navigate through that open communication and fostering that responsibility and independence, and taking ownership is, everything that I, again, preach in the work that I do. So I know the importance of it. So I really do want to thank you for showing up and being that light.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So I would love to just have you share, what would be your number one advice that you would give to parents that are kind of navigating the social media world and technology with their children? What do you think would be the most important thing for them to consider?
I mean, I think the most important thing is the communication, but also to really talk to your children, to understand, because they have such a different understanding of social media than I feel like we do sometimes, because they're living in a world where they grew up in it, and they have it at school, they have it around their friends. And so hearing their opinions and their thoughts and even a lot of times when I film a video, I'll have my teenage girls watch it, or the boys, and be like, what do you think? What kind of message is this sharing? And sometimes the perspective is so different than what I even thought it was. So I think definitely listening to your kids and respecting their opinion.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Well, it was such a pleasure having you on the show today, and I look forward to watching your journey and sharing with my audience, and just keep showing up and rocking it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. This was so amazing, and I'm so excited to be a part of this and a part of your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Yo, this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Oh, this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Class is in session. Please be seated. Behaviors that get attention get repeated. Avoid the power struggle cause it will get you heated. Listen to Amanda cause she knows how to teach it. Yo, this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Oh, this ain't parents out to lunch. No, this is parenting with the punch. Yeah.